This is DuPont REGISTRY Talks, the exclusive podcast from the home of driving luxury since 1985. Hello everyone and welcome to this episode of DuPont REGISTRY Talks. I'm your host Charles Bradley, and today I'm joined by another eminent guest from our wonderful world of luxury lifestyle. And today I'm excited to say I'm joined by Zak Brown, CEO of McLaren Racing, and now two-time Formula One world champions under his stewardship. Zak, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. You're here to talk about your new book, 7/10 of a Second, and obviously it starts with a deep dive into your early years. So tell us a little bit about the environment you grew up in, how your parents shared your appetite for, I guess, risk, competition, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, it's kind of a different, we've all had kind of different childhoods, but mine started with school and ended with school because I didn't like school. So I think that'll become apparent as you read it that I wasn't interested at the time in math, history, science. I was interested in baseball and then eventually karting. So I had a bit of a, troubled school, but, great family, mom and dad, brother, normal family, kind of a working class family, one that wasn't able to support me much. They did what they could in motor racing, originally a Valley boy. And then, I think the book, which I hope's an entertaining read, because that's intended to be, is kind of this kind of where I came from growing up, what I learned, but how I've applied it to business. So it's really a business book that kind of looks back at what did I learn then that I apply today? What did I do then that I don't do today? I a little bit more mature. But it was fun to do. It was a lot of work, but I wanted to get it right. So it was a lot of editing. And then by the time you're done reading it, I've read it so many times and not just in the sequential order that you kind of lose, like, does this all stick together? Is it going to make sense when people read it? But the feedback I've had from a few people who have read it has been very good, so I hope it lands well.
Welcome to the world of being a writer. The title, 7/10 of a Second, is very evocative. What does it mean to you personally, and what did you learn about yourself writing this book?
Yeah, that I learned, it's funny, because I didn't think I was going to necessarily learn anything other than how to write a book and how time consuming it is. And I'm not going to do another one anytime soon. But 7/10 comes back to Abu Dhabi, where at the end of the day, it took us all year, 1,400 people, lots of Grand Prix, and it came down to our final pit stop. And had we been 7/10 of a second slower, Carlos Sainz would have come out in our DRS, probably passed us. I'd like to think Lando would have passed him back, but I'm glad we didn't need to find out. So it was kind of about, you can do all this preparation. I've been doing this, I've been born for 53 years, 9 years, and it all comes down to 7/10 of a second. And really, I think what that means is everything matters in business and life. And it could be a big decision, a small, who would have thought after all these decisions, all these Grand Prix, all these pits, 7/10 of a second was the difference between winning and losing the world championship. So that's where the name comes from. But then I think I've always been one that's been high energy, everything matters, do everything to the best of your ability, go, 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 because it might just come down to 7/10 of a second.
Yeah. Was there anything in the book and your journey that you hesitated to include or felt a little nervous putting on paper?
Not me, but my lawyers and my communications team definitely went, nah, I'm not so sure that's going to be in the book. What I did, which I think it makes it the most authentic and credible, I just let loose and then put it all out there. And then, tell some stories that if you kind of put the names in there and it's not the nicest story, you might have a lawyer knocking at your door. So, we took more names out than stories out because I think the stories are good stories, funny stories, sad stories, whatever you want to call them. So it was more, don't use that guy's name because you could get yourself into trouble. So we didn't really detune anything. It was just kind of making it pass the sniff test. But a lot of, I've had some funny experiences over the years. And what I learned about myself, which I kind of knew, but it really came through. I think I've been able to pin once and for all my biggest shortcoming as a racing driver, which was I was too emotional. And I'm a very passionate guy, and I've had to learn how to control my emotion over the years. So when you read it and you look at my early years, I was not controlling my emotions. And I actually think now when I hang out with someone like Oscar, who's got total control of his emotions, and I look at when he has a bad day, which aren't many, and I had a bad day, which were many, like it was all emotion. I was so angry. I was angry at myself. I was angry at and like I couldn't focus. I didn't give myself a chance. I just went to a emotional, because I wanted it so bad, but I wanted like, hey, if you miss your first qualifying lap, go again. I'd be so angry after I missed my first one that I totally screwed up my second one because I was like in a wrong frame of mind. So I think my biggest area, I've always had huge passion. I've always, been very aggressive in wanting to, but sometimes you got to kind of tap the brakes. You got to cool the tires. Don't let passion roll into emotion. And I think I did that as a racing driver, and that's something that I've worked on as a business leader because I look at all the things that I got myself into trouble in early on. It was usually emotionally based.
Yeah. You'd made that huge leap to Europe and to chase that dream. Was there a defining moment when you realized your edge, your expertise wasn't really behind the wheel, but understanding how the sport works commercially?
Yeah, that wasn't until I moved back from Europe. I started racing professionally in 91. I stopped in 2000. I started to hear it as early as 95, but I wanted to know nothing about it because that's when I started my company. But I started my company just as a means to fund my own racing. So I didn't have a desire to build a company, start a company. It was like I just needed to do deals to keep eating and keep racing. Yeah. So I didn't envision building it up to be what it once was and sold it. But I would say in 97, 98, people were really starting to tell me I should quit, but you don't want to hear it. By 98, 99, I'm believing them. And by 2000, I think it's good. I had 2 years on my last contract because I think I wanted to quit in 99, but I maybe would have been unsure. 2000 was the nail in the coffin. Like I was miserable all year, didn't want to be didn't care. And actually, I think I needed that extra year to make sure I didn't doubt it because I actually still love driving today more than ever. But I was burned out then.
Yeah. I mean, many drivers struggle to pivot, don't they, after racing? Yeah. What allowed you to make that transition so effectively? And did you get the same buzz from business that you did behind the wheel?
I almost, yes. I mean, I think being a deal guy, I loved it, right? It's adrenaline. You got to beat the competition. It's hard. It's not easy. The rewards are great if you can start building something up. So, yeah, it replaced it for me. And when business took off is when I could focus. So I think I was emotional as a racing driver, and I also lacked focus because I didn't have the benefit of the resources, so I had to focus on sponsorship. But my people I was racing against, for the most part, either had family wealth or someone was supporting them. Someone's got to pay for it. And so I think I lacked focus and emotions, and then in business, I was able to take the emotion and turn it into passion, and I had total focus because once I was out of the car, I just had one frame of mind: build this thing, do more deals than anyone else, go, 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 and then that's when business took off.
I mean, founding JMI was a bold move. I mean, we've covered why you did it. What deal would you say really put JMI and yourself on the map in the business world?
I think we were already on the map. So there's a few key ones, but I would say my biggest, which put us maybe at the top of the mountain, if you'd like, was the Crown Royal deal in NASCAR. Getting spirits into NASCAR not only was a fiscally, financially, a huge deal. It required all my relationship skills because it required involving changing law within NASCAR because spirits weren't allowed to advertise. Spirits couldn't be on network TV. It was that involved getting regulation overturned. So normally if you got a big check from company X, the hard part's getting it, the easy part's spending it. This was almost easier getting the commitment from them because they knew what a game change. Now NFL, NBA, NFL, it changed the advertising landscape in North America, not just NASCAR. So you had Diageo, who was all in, and I'm thinking, I'm not sure I can pull this off. So it's the first and only deal where I had, getting the money was the easy part, spending it was the hard part. And that one I'm most proud of because it involved all relationships, huge trust, huge media profile. So that's my biggest moment from a sponsorship deal at JMI, my old company.
It was my first Daytona 500, and I walked into the press conference, and there was literally a wall of bottles of whiskey that they then gave out to all the media. So
Crown Royal, thanks so much. We went big. Yeah, we went big.
And then obviously another company that you set up was United Autosports, and it's become one of the most successful, let's say, privately owned racing organizations in the world. How did you evolve that project from, let's say, quite a small team into a real global powerhouse at the moment?
Yeah, also kind of not part of the master plan. So maybe sometimes it's good not to have we got a master plan here at McLaren, but that's because it's a very mature business. But I think when you start a business, sometimes you just go and you follow your passion. And what that was, I wanted to get back into racing, driving. Richard Dean's always been my best mate. I wouldn't be where I am today without him. And I could say that about a lot of people, but he'd be right at the top of the list because when my team went bust that I was racing for in '92, he said, come, my sister got an air mattress. You can live in the living room and pay 25 quid a week. So he took me under his umbrella, if you'd like, and no one else did. So when I wanted to get back into racing, now I had the economics to do it just for fun. It was like, I want to do it the right way with the right look of team. I don't want people around. I don't want to, this is my weekend off. So we just started the team as a single GT3 team, Audi GT3 team for Richard and I to drive and just have some fun. Now it's blown up to two-time Le Mans winner, WEC champion, Daytona win. It's amazing. And that's all credit to Richard. He knows how to run a racing team, create a big family atmosphere. The culture that he's created at United is awesome. So it really just started off of we want to do things our way, and the only way to do things our way is to control it and pay for it.
And thanks to all your success, that's allowed you to return to racing in the historic classes. All the fantastic cars that you own, span everything from modern prototypes, historic F1 cars. What drives that collector's passion for you personally?
To me, that brings me back to my childhood. I've been able to kind of, people ask me all the time, do you kind of pinch yourself with what's going on? And I don't, and I probably should. I think my pinch me moments are the drivers I grew up idolizing that I'm now friends with, like Mario Andretti. I mean, I got into racing at the 1987 Long Beach Grand Prix. Mario won from pole. I've got his Indy car. Mario's a great friend. That's why I'm in motor racing. So I think those historic cars bring back that 13-year-old, that 14-year-old, the 15-year-old, because they're all cars that won a racing period. That's part of my collecting criteria. But they're all the series, Formula One, IMSA, Group C, IndyCar, World Rally, and all the drivers that I grew up idolizing. Mario Andretti, Michael Andretti, Danny Sullivan, Emerson Fittipaldi, Michael Schumacher. So it's less about, the Lando Norrises and the Oscars I hang out with now. But I'm not 13 anymore. So to me, my collection's all about my memories, my youth. And it's kind of almost a reminder of how lucky I am, but it's less we won this weekend, how lucky am I? That's just a job. I'm in the moment. But when I can go drive, my old Mario Andretti Lotus 79, he won the world championship in, and I remember I had that poster, as we all did, in our room, right, the JPS special. And like Mario sends me notes as he did this weekend. Like that's the coolest thing in the world for me.
That's awesome, yeah. And seeing you at the Rolex Monterey reunion just recently,
Every
just
year.
hopping from car to car to car. You almost did
Car to
every
car.
race.
And the IROC was fun because I was racing Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Danny Sullivan. And it's like I'm on the track, and I was battling Scott Pruitt, and it's like Scott Pruitt's a legend. And so that, to me, that's really rewarding for me.
He does good wine as well.
He does good wine.
Let's bring it a little bit up to date. You joined McLaren. The team was a real crossroads, wasn't it, at the time?
We weren't in good shape.
No, exactly. So what was your mindset walking into an environment that you knew needed turning around?
Well, I didn't know how bad it was. When I entered, everyone was kind of pointing the fingers at Honda, and while certainly their engine wasn't reliable or didn't have the power it needed, we were a big contributor to where we were. And that became evident when we stuck the Renault in and we went from 9th to 6th. But it was like, hey, guys, I thought we were supposed to be first. So we hadn't treated our partners well, got them results, been flexible, adaptable. We were kind of still acting like we were the dominant team, but we were 9th. So our sponsorship was at a record low. Our fans were obviously unhappy. Team culture was very political, very unhealthy. And other than that, things were great. But what was great was I knew we had to have great people in here, because we've had people in here that are 20, 30, 40 years at McLaren. So, and then we got a great brand. So we needed to go from being this inclusive, cold, Darth Vader, not to use Star Wars, but, our cars were literally black and gray. Made sense they were silver when we were Mercedes, but no longer so. All our fans were going, bring back papaya. So it was like, let's bring back papaya. And let's bring some energy, and let's become inclusive, and let's people see who our drivers are. And so we just became a friendly environment, a warm colors, got people to kind of believe on where we were going. People would believe we're McLaren. So if the New York Yankees or New England Patriots kind of go, look, we're on our way back, you can get people to believe. And we got people to believe, from fans to sponsors to employees. And then once we reversed that momentum and got some forward momentum, it was almost a straight climb to the top. But we took a big dip in 23 where we had to make some changes, but we reacted quickly. We did. We bounced back quickly. And now the energy, the environment, the passion, it's all back. It's a very difficult sport. It's not not if we take a step back, it's when, right? This is sport. We're not going to win 13 races every year forever. So we need to keep our feet on the ground. But what we need to do is not fall so far back that we're always in those top 4 teams that are always a threat to win. And then you're going to win some, you're going to lose some. All you can do is the best you can do. But my job is to create stability for the team, because we got it going on right now, and change is usually what changes culture. So I'm trying to box this culture into a bottle and not let the genie out.
You mentioned 23 there. Obviously, I think you had to make some pretty tough calls at the time to set the team back on the right path. What were the toughest ones you had to make there to get the team to
they
where
were
it is today?
actually kind of easy decisions, because I started feeling the problem. I think in business you have an instinct, and then kind of data follows, kind of confirmed. I was worried in June, July that our car in 22 wasn't very good, but everything at that point was Daniel headlines, because we had our challenges with Daniel. So it was that was the focus. I felt here back at the kind of factory, we weren't developing the car, we weren't providing the leadership. And then we had, my big moment was the French Grand Prix. We had a bunch of upgrades that just didn't work. And the response from some of the leadership at that time was like, we'll do better next time. It was like, no, I think we got a problem now. And I knew at that time we're developing our 23 car. So I was able to make the changes at the end of 22, but sure enough, the 23 car, so I was right. But Andrea got in, reworked, moved some people around, promoted, fired, hired, restructured, and his first upgrade, which was Austria. The car's just been a run to the front ever since then. So that was the biggest change, was getting some new energy, some new focus, and unlocking the talent that needed to go to the next level.
Yeah. Obviously, we could talk all day, but I just wanted to sign off with, one of the big things is that, you're now a two-time Constructors Champion CEO. How do you define that leadership in Formula One? Because it's a world that demands absolute perfection and under so much pressure every weekend.
Well, demands perfection, but you never get perfection, right? As soon as that new front wing's out, it might be better, but you can still make it better, right? So you're constantly chasing perfection. It's like that Wild Coyote video where they got the carrot in front of you and you just keep chasing it, but you don't get any closer to the carrot. I think it's all teamwork. It's transparency. It's tough love. It's fairness. Recognizing we're not going to get it perfect, but even though we're not going to get it perfect, we're going to keep trying.
Yeah. So it's on a path now of just keep on doing what you're doing.
Keep doing what you're doing.
Zach, thank you so much for your time. Good luck for the rest of the season and the years to come. And thanks for being on the show.
Thanks for having me on.